Welcome to the NC Spin After Spin. Additional comments from our panelists just available on our website. John and Chris, at the end of the day, education in North Carolina is just as much about politics as it is about policy. Where are our public schools headed today? Can we ever achieve excellence that will put North Carolina in the spotlight when it comes to education?
Well, I would say that Chris mentioned this on a recent show regarding the A through F grading system. There are lots of different ways to think about the political conversation or obstacles to education reform or the interaction between politics and education. But one of the main things I would really like to see North Carolina grapple with is that family background, student characteristics, they do have a significant correlation with academic performance. And we can go through all the different implications of that, but one of them is that we should be trying to evaluate the value that is added by the public school system. That isn't to say that we should settle for having low scores because we also have a higher percentage of students who are poor or whatever. I'm not saying that. I'm saying there is a kind of a tendency to say North Carolina's schools aren't very good because they rank lower than the national average or at the national average in this or that. If you adjust for the student demographics, North Carolina's public schools are in the top 10, top 7 in the country. Now, again, that's not enough given the disadvantages that some of our families face and so forth, but we have to be realistic and have a more informed conversation about education policy than the one we currently have.
Chris?
I don't disagree with that, but I would add to it and say that John is right about that, but the solution to fixing that is realizing that education is not just what happens when you get to school and figuring out, and there are creative ways. Senator Howard Lee mentioned LeBron James School in a recent show about figuring out how to help low-income families. Those schools have a food bank in the school. Figuring out a way to help those families to take away some of those barriers that low-income kids face. That would be the first thing. The second thing is, and this is Democrats and Republicans, we have this schizophrenic thing of education. Every 2 or 3 or 5 years, somebody has a new silver bullet, which doesn't generally include the things like helping low-income schools. In North Carolina, we've tried many. We used to have, and I think accountability is great, an accountability movement. That led to over-testing. Now politicians all want to stand up and say, we test our kids too much. We don't want to give them very many tests. There'll be another thing coming up pretty soon because politicians run every 2 years, and these problems we're talking about addressing are literally lifetime and generational problems and issues that we have to have a longer-term view of.
Thank you so much. Very interesting. Thanks for watching the After Spin. More video all during the week on ncspin.com.